Yo, this is the Streetwise Podcast. We're here to help you level up your game, level up your leadership, and level up your life. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a multi-brand franchisee, and I'm a franchise consultant where I help people find, launch, and build their ideal business. My main goal is to help you get off of zero and become the person that your dreams need you to be. Buckle up, get your popcorn ready. Let's go. What's up, everybody? On today's episode, we're talking to Steve Miller with Voda Restoration. These guys are a part of Franchise Playbook. The CEO and founder, Dan Claps, is just, first of all, he's just a good dude. I'd like to consider him a friend of mine. I was on his podcast back in the day, and he's been a really solid inspiration and mentor to me in the franchising space as I've pivoted from being a franchisee moving into the franchise consultant space. But today we're talking to Steve Miller. He's the director of franchise development for Voda Restoration. And this interview was back in the summer of 2023. So we're releasing this. It's January 2024. So a lot of the information might be a little outdated when it comes to how they're operating in and within broker networks. For example, back when we did this interview, they were not a part of the franchise network. And I also was not yet a franchise consultant. I was just getting started in my training with franchise. And so now I have been a franchise consultant for 3 to 4 months. And Voda has been a part of franchise for around that same time. If you're looking at Voda as a franchise, you can hit me up. I can get you connected with these guys. But for now, man, just enjoy this episode. Steve offers a lot of good insight into franchising, into Voda, into what they do to separate themselves as just a solid business model for people who want to get into business, but they don't know where to start. They are a franchise system built around solid franchisee support. You're going to like this episode. As always, buckle up, get your popcorn ready. Let's go. Steve, what's going on, man?
Man, great day, dude. Friday, right? Birds won last night, so I'm always in a good mood.
There you go.
After a victory like that. But, just cranking, rocking, and rolling, having a blast over here at Voda. But, again, I appreciate you thinking of me and having me tap in and jump on your podcast today.
Yeah, I won't hold it against you. Your fan affiliations. I'm out here in Dallas. I'll let that speak for itself. But everybody's got to do their own thing, man. I'm not gonna hold it against you. But no, man, it's really cool getting to talk to you. We've had this kind of planned out for a while. You guys are moving and grooving, man. So tell me a little bit about, or I guess tell the people about your role, what you do, the company you work for. Just give us like a base intro to what you guys have going on right now.
Yeah, I'm our senior development director over at Franchise Playbook and Voda Cleaning and Restoration. Playbook, we launched last year. It's infancy stages. It's a platform that's going to own and operate dynamic brands in the home services space. Our first acquisition and what it starts with is Voda Cleaning and Restoration, which is a franchise that we launched here in April. I think when we met, actually, we were just starting. So we had
we're fresh.
Yeah, no Z's. So we came out of the gate. I lead our development team, and I'm also going to be helping with some of the back end sales stuff for our Z's. But yeah, we're now we have 11 units. We have 6 franchisees. Exciting times for Voda. We actually completed our first training class. So we have
Congrats.
Guys on the field. Appreciate it. Yeah. Just before I jumped on here, saw the clips. I actually just spoke to Dan before I jumped on. So we got our first guys out in the field. It's great to see the journey. You meet somebody, right, out of the blue. You're feeling each other out. You're talking about the opportunity. They believe in you. Like I'll never forget our first franchisee. Right, it was my first sale as a developer. He's been great going through, and it's great when they're excited, right? When they're texting you during training, things are going well. The phones are ringing. They're ready to get out there and attack it. And then, for us as a brand, right? It's all about the success of disease, and that starts next week. So actually, it's been a long time in process, but officially they're rocking and rolling. So if you're in the the Fort Worth or Dallas area, you got a leak, you got a restoration work, or you need your floor cleaned, I got some people that can be out there right away that are some great individuals. So I'm excited for them.
So you guys have guys, you have franchisees launched in DFW already,
Yep. So
right?
these are the first
Okay.
guys coming out. So we have our
The
first guys
first
in the
ones.
Dallas Fort Worth area.
That
And
DFW market, man, it's just
yeah,
so fast. I didn't
yeah.
stand a chance. It's just so quick. You guys might still have some for me.
Yeah, we got a little some, but yeah, he's there,
Okay.
and the other guy's in northern Dallas, kind of McKinney market up
So you
there.
have two in Dallas already.
Yeah, two are launching. So
Jeez
Dallas is kind
Louise.
of our first market. So you might be seeing all these trucks and thinking, well, coulda, shoulda, woulda, as
Yeah, I
they're
bet.
patrolling the Dallas neighborhoods. But we're really pumped for the guys. And again, this is just the start, right? And so they, like you mentioned, with your journey with Groovy Who's and starting, we're navigating them on the first couple days. I'm sure they're leaving training and going to have a bit of an anxious feeling, which is also excitement that they're out there and now they're operational and it's time to get those phones to ring and out there and execute some jobs in the market.
Man, there's so many different ways I want to take it now. You kind of hit me with a bunch, man. That's super exciting for you guys. The fact that you guys are launching, you got 11, is it 11 franchisees or
We got
11
11
units?
units, 6 franchisees. So actually,
Nice. Okay.
we just signed an individual yesterday in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. But yeah, we're in. We got Austin as well, and then we have the Philadelphia, Wilmington area. That's going to be up and running too as well. So yeah, early growth phase, right? We got our Discovery Day next week in Madison, Wisconsin. Our corporate location's out of Madison now, so excited for that Discovery Day. And
Saw that. You guys moving to your new office and getting the Discovery Day. It's exciting, man.
yeah, we're gonna make our stamp in the franchise space in Madison. So Madison's the headquarters of Playbook. We're getting rocking and rolling, and we're going to be hopefully that brand presence and looking back on putting Madison on the map here in the franchise space.
Okay, so tell me about the brand itself. We'll start there. So Voda Restoration bu- business, restoration industry.
Yep.
Where did that come from? Did you guys create this from scratch? Did you acquire it from a previous business owner?
Yeah,
How did it all come together?
great question. There's a great story behind it. So the brand, I was part of the diligence process with Dan and Zach. We thoroughly researched the restoration market. Really, I think the industry itself, we stumbled across it after a lot of due diligence, and it's a great industry, a great space. We looked at, probably 20 to 30 different companies, but we really absolutely fell in love with a company that's in the northern DC. They call it the DMV area. It's DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
Okay.
The brand at the time was called DNA Pro Cleaning. So DNA stood for Dragon and Arlene, our founders at our corporate location. So it was a struggle because, as you could say, when you build something, blood, sweat, and tears from the ground up, and when we come in to acquire it, and our first thing to do is we want to rebrand the whole thing. It's a bit of a tough conversation, right? That's like your child and trying to rename them something else.
Absolutely.
But we had a great marketing agency. Our CMO did a great job. One of the top marketing agencies. I'm actually shocked they brought us on. We did a very extensive, marketing exercise. Put a lot of time, money, and resources towards it, and they came up with Voda, which is the Serbian name for water. So our founder, Dragon, great story. He came to this country in his late, I think mid 20s. Was a lifeguard at first, and then he was doing odds and end jobs. And but anyways, he kind of got into the space, and he was in tears during the meeting, right? Because again, we brought it back in him and made sure we circled it in. And I think the branding, we changed it full wraps on the vans, right? There's all the detail in the branding, which is as you know, huge in the home services space.
Yep.
And I think afterwards, we didn't realize it, to be honest with you, at first, how impactful that rebrand was going to be. But once we got that truck wrapped, the feedback from the corporate location, and then just the look and feel of it, really, really incredibly happy on how it turned out. And we love the look of it. the feel of it. And again, it's extremely important to stand out in the space. And I think that was a big game changer for us coming in and doing that full revamp.
Dude, tell me I don't have to buy a franchise to get a pair of those shoes, man. Those shoes are
Yeah,
fresh.
we can hook you up. Shout out to Ben and Trends
Dude, those shoes are
for the
fresh.
shoes. But yeah, for sure. I'm a big shoe guy too, so I was like, I need me a pair of these. But
Y'all
yeah,
did something cool with the brand, man. That's just me like giving doubt and respect because that the wrap on the van looks amazing. The shoes are fresh, and we'll get into like how you guys are building it out because I mean it's very impressive. Like you guys are doing it, and y'all are getting out there.
yep.
Who? How did you come up? So you told me like the backstory what the word means, but how did you come up with it?
Yeah, I mean, to be
Is that
honest with you,
something Dan just pulled out of a hat? What
I
happened?
would love to take credit for it, but like we're a believer of having people, and we kind of equivalate a lot of things we do, like bring in the brightest minds in a certain aspect of the business and let them run with it. So we brought in an outside company, and
Okay.
then with Christian kind of working them feedback. I mean, they had like 9 people working on this. It was a full project, and that wasn't the first name that we were given, right? And it was a lot of time and effort and calls. And I'm a sales guy, so those
Mm.
marketing things that sometimes you're like, all right, kind of walking through it, but a lot of back and forth, and they nailed it. To be honest with you, like I give you guys the company, but we might need them in the future, and I got to keep that close to
Hold
the
that
vest.
one. Hold that one
But
tight, man. Hold that one tight.
yeah, starting kind of with Dan at the top of our organization, we love to bring people in and let them run in their own lane and do what they do best, right? We equivalate a lot of things to sports and football, right? Again,
There we
we
go.
offense, defense, like the operations team. I can't go out and make a tackle for them. They can't go out and score a touchdown, but we can help each other out and some synergies to put each other in a spot to succeed. But again, we really let people run with that, and that starts with the culture kind of Dan's built with our team, and even with the development team for me, he lets me run with it and kind of say, and we have some great meetings of the mind to tweak the process throughout.
Love that. And it's a great transition into my next question. You guys are like, for me, building out my teams over here, I look at you guys and it's like squad goals. Like y'all got it's just so impressive. Break down break down the team for me that you currently have
Yep.
first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, everything starts with a team. Every great company I've been a part of, it starts with a team, right? I built a company and sold it with some friends from high school, and I had a blast doing it. But to be honest with you, like just the dynamic, and it's crazy because we're remote and we don't know each other. But you think I'd know Dan for 10 years. So we got myself. I lead our development team. Dan Claps, our CEO. Then we have Zach Nolte, who's our COO. So again, joining these guys, Dan been in the space for over a decade. I joke around and call him LGD or Lead Gen Dan. In
Yeah.
his space, and then Zach. What a great operational mind, kind of running. Kitchen solvers previous to coming in and joining our team. And then we have Christian Betancourt, who's our CMO. Christian Betancourt, running some large budgets for some fitness brands, great background in marketing, kind of the backbone of our direct consumer plan. Then we have, outside of that, Arthur Sturgis, who's just an absolute monster in the restoration space. The fact that we got him involved at the stage we are, that was a lot of magic by Zach and Dan. Arthur, almost 10 years in restoration, been a VP of some large franchise organizations like Service Master. So bringing in a different level of experience to the team. Also, kind of my right hand and makes everything happen and makes my life very easy is Suzanne Duane. She's our development specialist. I don't think her title gives her enough shout outs. She makes sure Dan and I schedule, does our territory checks, introductions, is crucial in the communication with brokers as well. And then I also just hired a new developer, Chloe Bennett. She is a Crumble franchise Z, and she's stepping into a development role with us. And then we don't want to leave anybody out here. We got some success coaches on the way. We got some more people that are going to be hired here as we expand this thing out.
That's a great breakdown. I appreciate that. it seems like everybody had their own experience. I mean, let's talk about you for yourself. Like you just said your background was in sales, which pivots very well into franchise development, but you didn't necessarily have experience. You said you just sold your first.
Yeah, I stepped into this. I met Dan, and to be honest with you, I've been with Playbook since it started. In the beginning, and we've had some pivots. So I had about 4 months to gear up. So I was all in the back end due diligence, and then I also took a lot of time to train. Went to the Titus Center, did a training. Pretty much had my CFV done already. So I really took
Wow.
to learn the space. But again, man, it's sales are sales, and it's about really connecting with people and finding their pain points, finding out what motivates them. It's something that I'm familiar with, and then I work along some great consultants that make the process a lot easier for me. But yeah, prior to this, I had 0 franchises sold. So you got to think I step into a role. I got a brand new franchise, no Z's, right? A corporate location, and then I got new to franchise world. Got to go out there and make relationships with consultants along with Dan, and then sell some units, right? And find the right operators too. It's not just about selling units; it's about finding the right people.
Right.
And I knew there was a task. I like challenges, and I felt that my skill set fit into it. Dan, I think, did a great job of introducing me to a lot of great people in the space to help, learn from me. I got some great videos of some of the godfathers of franchising that I kind of soaked in and embarrassingly was listening to a lot. And again, also, you got to learn and adapt as you go. Part of one of our core values is always improving, right? So it's having an honest assessment with yourself after calls and being like, how did that go? And then you got to change some things, and move and alter the cycle for the better. And I think we've continued to do that. So again, I've got my first 11 under my belt now, but I'm here to do thousands. So it's just really the start, and I'm just trying to get better. Every single day. Same with Dan, and that's kind of the MO of our whole team. And as we're building this thing out.
Do you think the process of pivoting? I mean, you were in the role, but it sounds like none of you guys were doing the exact thing that you're doing now. These were all level up positions that you guys were totally geared for, but it was a step up. Do you feel like the way that you've been able to step in that role, the whole team collectively had to go through that same journey and pathway?
Well, to a degree. So to be honest with you, our operational team is amazing. Like Zach, I mean, he was running kitchen solvers, right? So for his experience, it was a transition into restoration, but like, hey, as a franchisor, that is not new to him. Arthur Sturgis is not new to him. But to be honest with you, Dan was on the consultant side, right? He had to switch to the development side. So me and him kind of learned the process together. I mean, he had a great idea of it, but it's different as you're walking through on the other end. But then on our side, working with consultants, we had Dan, a previous consultant, right? And knew what he expected from his developers. So that gave us a little bit of an edge when we're building it out and communicating. But it was definitely a new role for us. So we had to step up into it. And Dan, we took a lot of, Zach came and joined us. And we knew we had a great operations team. It was just for us kind of to make it happen. And me during the process, I'm selling Zach and his experience and Dan's and Christian's. Because again, for me, I'm newer to the space, but it was definitely a new role. And but again, I've been a part of some long sales cycles. I built companies before. I left the W-2 world, and one time I was doing medical devices, and I left, and it was scary. And I know what they're going through. A lot of these guys and the anxiety they have, and so that helps me too as well. But I think if anything, it's a learning process daily, and then it's putting into work, right? I mean, if I make more calls and I'm more available and I'm more responsive, the experience, I can catch up on that end, right?
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt.
That's the same thing, and like, man, the culture that we have here. One thing is like, how do we scale? Like we joke around like the four of us. How do we continue to scale? And we've done a great job with that so far. But I think that core team. And again, like, at the IFA, Drew Brees mentioned, like, best teams I've been part of, they care. Same way I played sports my whole life. Like, the teams that gelled always did the best. And, like, we hold each other accountable. Like, for me on the front end, I got to make things happen to get people in the system and the right people. And then on the back end with Zach and Arthur, I mean, I'm not losing any sleep over our training. I get feedback from the Z's, and I know Zach, Arthur, Christian, Dan, they crushed it, right? And that's just coming directly from the guys that that I met. So it's a great cycle to meet somebody. They buy the system, they come in, and I believe in it so much. To be honest with you, I know a lot of people don't believe in selling the family and friends, but one of my old colleagues in the med device world was our third franchisee.
Okay.
And I got him in, and he was a bit like, in the beginning kind of there, and he met the team, and he was like, man, like, this is a great group you put together. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to tell you that, So, again, I just, really believe in us. And again, we got a long way to go. We're just, it's one day at a time kind of thing. So, normally I don't have this time to talk. It's just great. Like normally I'm just blasting on the phone, but I was excited to get to speak with you. And this is kind of a little bit of a break with me, a little more of a casual conversation. So,
Hey, happy to facilitate that, man. No doubt. Now it's really cool. I mean, you guys, you can tell that. You're walking the walk, along with everything that you're putting out there. You guys are making a solid name for yourself. I mean, you see it. You guys are consistent. You can see the growth from me being on the outside. You talked a little bit about working alongside consultants, and one of the things I wanted to ask you about was when you're building out a brand like this and joining the bigger consulting groups, how do you guys process that? What's your strategy right now from the development perspective? I mean, you're already generating your own leads, but then eventually you get to the point where you join all these broker groups. Where are you guys at in the mix there?
Yeah. Well, I knew that was going to be a challenge for me coming in, right? Because I'm new. So I didn't come over with a portfolio of brokers that I knew. Also, Dan was on a network that we're not in. So, he was his old company. So we weren't in there. So we had to build these relationships. One, kind of back to, everything I've done, it's all about hammering the phones and then respecting people's times and engaging conversation to get them going and just being consistent. And then also, I think I took a really learning role from a lot of these guys and learning about their business and how I could niche in what I have. And I think the guys that jumped on really felt the passion of what we were. And they were, I kind of made it seem like, hey, come ride the train with us and let's find the right consultant partners. But, one, it was the consultants are a huge part of our business. And they're, I teach my team and tell them, like, they're our clients, right? Our job is to work alongside them, make them happy, be communicative, be informative on there. I mean, I respect the money that they're spending on candidates, right, and leads, and that's the thing. And as a consultant, you're not closing deals every single day. So for us, it's treating that candidate, being very transparent with them on our process, and our goal is always to sell a candidate, but also our goal is to keep that candidate enthusiastic about franchising and wanting to learn more about brands. And if we're not a fit because we're an emerging brand, like, hey, let's get that back to the consultant and let's try and find another opportunity for them. And even if, for us, that's kind of how you build these relationships with these with consultants. And again, I've learned a lot from them too, as well. And I try and just be a sponge. I had one of the top consultants today that, I don't even do business with, gave me 30 minutes to pick his brain. That's great. And for me, it's just kind of learning. And again, calling somebody and just, I've learned this from my training back in the med device farm, just calling somebody when they're busy, spitting out all this information, that doesn't work, right? It's about how can I be an asset to them. I'm here, and I joke around with them, but I'm true. Like, hey, I'm here to make you money, right? If you find a good developer, that's what's going to happen. So, part of the consultant world is, finding the right brands that you believe in, that you think your candidates will do well in, and finding guys that are going to be on top of it, communicative, and being very informative through the process with these candidates. And these candidates are going through. You can sense it. They're going through as quite of a journey. And a lot of times it's the unknown. Also, it's overwhelming. There's a lot out there. And to be not only talk about your brand, but talk about the franchise world, setting realistic expectations. I think one thing is, it's not all rainbows, right? You as a business owner, it's a lot of work to put in, right? And I think one thing that I always talk to them about is, if you don't change what you're doing, what does your life look like? If you make that leap and you put that grind in, how much better could it be? and really that goal and vision of down the road is what drives these candidates. Because sometimes they're in a good spot. Most of these guys are, for the most part, have great careers, have some money saved, and they're looking to take that next jump. And sometimes it can be scary, or they're at a pain point where they want to leave their job, but they're like, where do I go? And there's so many options. And I think they're also trying to figure out who's being honest with me and who's not. And I think a lot of the guys that fought with us have really felt a connection with our team, have really believed in us. I equivalent this back to me doing startups and raising capital, right? Those investors believed in us. And we know they didn't have everything figured out, and it wasn't a running business, but they were like, hey, I like what these guys are doing. And that's kind of similar to this, right? They're believing in our leadership team, and they're believing in the partnership that we're providing. And I kind of stress that with franchisees is like, this is a partnership with us that you're buying into. This is not something where we're selling it to you and see you later. And the fun starts after you sign.
Yo, thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building. Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's my mission to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. I've been a franchise owner for almost a decade. I know what it means to struggle. I know what it means to build a team. If you're ready to get off of zero, if you're ready to build something for yourself, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's get the conversation started. Don't wait until tomorrow to build your future. It starts today. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode. What are you guys looking for? Do you have an idea? I know you're early. An idea of who's the avatar for your franchisee? And before you answer, I'll preface with just my experience being a franchisee in two different systems, but both in the home service space. Dude, the franchisees that are out here are so wide and they're just all over the place. But I'm just curious for you, emerging, starting it up from scratch, do you have an idea of who you're targeting specifically yet?
Yeah. I mean, I think that what's great about our model is there's, a lot of different people can succeed. But I think as I look at it, one, it's got to have that servant mentality as an individual where, again, in this space, it's an event that occurs. The individual was not ready for it, right? All of a sudden, you come down and you got a $5,000 water issue. That just throws your whole day off, right? So to having kind of that servant mentality is definitely key, especially also I think in any home services having that mentality, right? You're in someone's home. It's like one of their most sacred things they own, right? And that the mentality from the Z transforms down to their team. So another thing is, can you manage a team? Can you build a culture out? Your team is your company, right? And if you can have all the trucks, equipment that you want, but if you don't have a team that's really to go to bat with you and be disciplined and motivated to go the extra mile, like that's kind of what separates individual teams. And then I think another thing with us, we have a lead generation background. We do a lot on the lead generation. We have a done-for-you marketing. But again, this is home services. You can go out and acquire customers. So I think that who can go out there and make some magic happen with networking. We help you, guide you, and show you who to go after, give you contact information, run campaigns to warm those leads up. But if you can go out there and establish a relationship with a plumber and get all his referrals, you go meet with a property manager and go and get his business. That's going to differentiate, an organization. I think you always attract people that you're kind of similar to a degree. And for me, with my background and being core sales and management, it seems that a lot of these guys have that, and being able to build out a team and then really have a capacity for networking, sales, and I think that's going to be a driver, right, and a difference maker in our Z's and being able to compete versus the competition.
What makes the base of a solid lead gen strategy? Yeah,
well, I think one, not to give away all of our secret sauce, but I think the biggest thing is to always be adaptable, right? Okay. Times change, things change, and always evaluate what you're doing and seeing what's the return on it and then being able to pivot. Sometimes something doesn't work. And then also I think a lot of times not to pivot too quickly from a tried and true method and being too scattered about the approach. But I think it's multiple efforts, right? Me in home services, you become a face of the community. Like everyone that I know that owns a home services business is involved in a community that does really well. That's a big aspect. Having a wide network, having synergies amongst other business owners, and that's from coming from the Z. But from us and what we provide, it's a definite strategic SEO kind of marketing, social media. Also the new upcoming homeowner. I shop differently than my father shopped, right? And being adaptable to them and how they're going about it. And Christian, our CMO, is always up to date on new trends, what's going out. If I give you an example, like little things, like I know when Twitter rebranded, I'm getting an information from him before it's even on my app, right? So
Nice.
for him, he's always kind of a master at his craft. And again, even in our process, I talk high level about marketing, but I always get them on leadership calls because it's never going to sound as good coming from me as it was Christian, and that's what he does. And again, back to keeping somebody and really letting them do what they do best. And that's what Christian does on the direct consumer marketing end alongside LGD, Lead Gen Dan. But we got a multifaceted ways of going out there and executing the lead generation. And then I know for them, there's for them, it's always kind of how do you improve what we're doing, get more leads, and how you continue to evaluate what we're doing versus, and getting feedback from the Z's as well.
Yeah. Great answer. Something that you said a couple times, Lead Gen Dan claps.
Well, you got to have fun if you're working like we are. You got to have fun. You got to poke around a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That locker room feel and that's how you do it. Like, I don't think, like, for me, if like you like what you do and you like the people you're around, I mean,
it's everything,
right? And so
it's everything.
That's what was so intriguing. I honestly did not think it was going to be like this when I first joined. And again, when I joined, it was just me and Dan. And then, like, you get another hire. Remember, we're remote. I don't see these guys in the office. But, like, last night during the Vikings game, half the guys are Vikings game. Zach Nolte's going to owe me some push-ups on Discovery Day, just some batter back and forth. We're always communicating with each other, and we just have a common goal. For me, I know my team is working tirelessly all the day. Not to bring it back to sports, but some things that used to piss me off growing up is like people that they don't hold themselves accountable to the team, right? They're not in the summer working out. For me, I know Zach is doing everything. I don't have to figure out what he's doing. He's up and running. Like Susan, I mentioned, that does so much for us on the development side. I'm not giving her a task every day. She knows what needs to be done and how we got to move and shake and move forward in the direction. So again, having a team like that holds each other accountable is a difference maker in us kind of moving forward. But again, it's one step at a time, right? I don't want to be, the saying Rome wasn't built in a day is really true. And we've only been at this for 4 or 5 months, but it's the days seem long, but then when you look back on it, you're like, that seemed like it was yesterday.
So fast. It goes so fast. Well, my question was, what I'm curious about, because I know Dan initially from the podcast, him and Christian Dadalak, and I was able to be on the franchise founders. I was able to be on that podcast. They've rebranded it to I Fired My Boss. But that's how I met Dan, and through LinkedIn, been able to stay connected, was able to meet you. But, I mean, you came in not really knowing the guy. I mean, y'all connected and were the first 2 guys to really build this thing. What's it like working with Dan? What is he like as a leader? What kind of separates him in the franchise industry?
Man, well, to be honest with you, so I met him. So one of my buddies is an executive recruiter in the Northeast, and he's like one of my best friends. And I said, hey, I'm looking to do something. What's out there? And he's like, yeah, I got this guy in New York who's coming off an exit. He's trying to put together something in franchising. Mind you, I had already researched franchising. So we have a funny story because the first time I called Dan, he kind of blew me off because he was, I think he was at the Jordan Belfort podcast, which was cool for me because I'm a Jordan Belfort fan. So I'm like,
I listened to that episode. That was a good episode.
House, so that was timing's everything, right? So I made him, and I think just us being Northeasterner guys, like the other guys are from the Midwest. When we're in these team meetings, they're like, wow, how these guys are talking. Like we're very direct with each other. Like we're only doing that because we care. We just want each other to be better. But it's been great. He's been extremely transparent. We've had a couple pivots in the business as we've built this out. But one, I think his skill set is he's a great networker. I have a lot to learn with him networking. In my businesses in the past,
Phenomenal.
I never had to use LinkedIn. To be honest with you, I promoted within, and then I had a group of team that I was building companies out. So it never really LinkedIn, and our customer base wasn't on LinkedIn. And really, so I never really used that kind of skill set or really did podcasts or things in the past. Maybe because, I need to have a bit different thinking, but I think from him and his reach is something that's impressive. And then he's also like, I got meetings with guys that are some of the best, and I'm new, some of the best guys in development, some of the best guys in consulting that I'm meeting with just because of Dan. Also, I think he's our CEO, right? He's the biggest shareholder. He owns, the platform, but he lets people again, we talked about do what they do and run with it, but also he takes a lot of very direct communication that I think a lot of people wouldn't do. They'd be like, I'm the owner of this thing. Like it's my way or the highway. And he's let me butt heads with him on a lot of different things. And we've, like brothers kind of gone at it on different ways of how we want to do things. But to his credit, he can always overrule me, but he usually doesn't. And he lets me, be communicative. We got a corny saying called candidly candid, where it's like, candidly candid, this is what you're doing wrong, right? And just kind of bring down the defense and of each other when we're talking through. So, I mean, that's been great. And again, for him stepping into the CEO role of the company, I was joking around. We were at a conference and he was speaking in front of everybody, and I'm taking a video of him like I'm his mom or something, which I thought was kind of funny. And we joked around about it. But it's been great. And I've only known him for about a year now, but it feels like I've known him for 5-10 years. And my girlfriend's like, "Who are you talking to, Dan?" So yeah, it's been great. And same with Zach. Zach's come in, I think, brought a different mindset, really that steady hand of his experience in the franchisor. And again, it's been great. Joking around, we joke around, call us the Voda boys, but it's been a great time where we go to meet each other. Sometimes when we're leaving, we're going to the airport. It's kind of like we joke around like, oh yeah, when you're little and the vacation's over, right? And you guys are going your separate ways. Kind of build up that camaraderie, and that goes a long way. And again, talked about holding each other accountable, and me again trying to. They've given me the role, and with Zach leaving an established brand to come with us, and giving me the ability and the opportunity to lead the development team. That was a lot of pressure on me, and then also was a lot of accountability that. Okay, I'm new. I got to get this thing rocking. This guy left what he did before to do this. So that gave me a lot. I was already motivated, but that gave me definitely a lot of fuel that, hey, I'm not going to let these guys down and do it the right way and find the right people. And that just, that's a lot of calling. It's a lot of work. And that's kind of where we're at. But again, we're so early on. It's great to look back, and we're not here to be 11 unit system. But it's great to look back and give yourself a quick pat on where where you've been and where you're going through this journey. And again, it's enjoying the journey along the ride. I think speaking to a lot of people that have been successful, these early days, they're always looking back on it and being like, that was some great times, that we had. And I think I've been enjoying the ride, and it is a lot of work, and we have as anything else, business roller coaster of emotion, but. It's also been a lot of fun, which is great, right? I get up and I get to work with a bunch of guys that I'd hang out with outside of work.
No, that's really cool. I'll never miss an opportunity to do a book plug for the audience, but something that you just said is the epitome of The Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. What you said is truly the meaning of living in the gain, is acknowledging where you're at and comparing it not to where you want to go, but comparing it to where you came from. So you're focused on that growth and you're living in the growth, where the inverse of that is living in the gap where, oh, we only have 11. Oh, I wanted to be at 100, but I'm only at 11. Oh man, how are we going to do it? It's so hard. It's so stressful. What you literally just said is the essence of living in the gain. And I love that. And the other thing I'll say, just to your whole, just that whole testimony about your team, it's just really cool, and it's something of envy. I think of a lot of people is being on a team where obviously it's not all butterflies and rainbows. You guys got to get in each other's face, but there seems to be just a mutual respect and level of appreciation for each other that, man, is just something that I personally, building my own team is something that I strive for. So it's really cool that you guys have been able to do that. Um, you kind of talked about it, but I want to ask it in like a true question format. So what have you guys started doing that you've had to change? Whether that's from it's like, oh, this is a clear opportunity to pivot, to grow, or we fell flat on our face and failed, so we had to get better. Any examples of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me think here. So examples, I think one, on the sales development cycle, we've tweaked a couple things. Again, this is all about people, right? So really, I myself, the first call, I think we really hammered on the emotional side, pain point, creating urgency, learning more about the individual, making people be on camera, having a true connection to have them through that journey. I think definitely something that we looked at, and then also I looked at it, with kind of things I've done. Is for me, I used to joke around, um, primitive of Captain Ahab and Moby Dick. Like for me, I joked around with my sales team in the past, like we want to hunt whales. We want to find guys that can move and shake our business, and from the consultant side, and find guys that want to partner with us and really want to, and then for me, just to be above and beyond their expectations of what they have from a development team. And, building out automations, like Dan's amazing with that. Like they get automatic automations when people are moving through the steps, and then just being communicated with them. So I think a little bit on the consultant side, we had to pivot a bit and kind of find the right organizations and people that we wanted to go real deep with and really spend a lot of time with. And then secondly, I think one of the main things was, okay, giving you John D. Rockefeller was I was reading something about him. He's known as a tycoon, but like not the best person, right? One of the first guys to create monopolies, but his thing they call him, and we joke around about now Rockefeller notes. Rockefeller back in the day had a Rolodex, so you have notes on every person he dealt with, and he's very tedious with them.
Okay.
So that even though he's not a really good person, he's able to connect by having just the most amount of notes. So for us, one of my bullet points is there is Rockefeller. I want to know more about the candidates than anybody else does. And how do I get them there? In that first call, they really got to be talking about themselves. And I got to sit back and we measure the time that we're on the phone. And that should be on the back end, like 20% of the time. And it's those questions and tweaking how you ask them to get them really to open up and learn a little bit about them and be communicative. And a lot of times it's in between calls, just randomly building relationships, to text them, to call them. Just because it's a set call doesn't mean we can't communicate with them when the call's not going on. So there's a couple of things that I know we've tweaked and analyzed as moving forward. And then another thing is just like eat and breathe and sleep, and just continuing to look at your pipeline, moving people the right way, and getting people out that aren't a fit. We talked about we only have 11 units, but I feel really good about those 11. I feel really good about those operators of them succeeding. I don't really have much questions on if they're the right fits, and that's important, especially early on, because for me, who cares about selling 30 quick units to anybody, right? Those validators and people not being a great fit. I'd rather have a stronger, smaller team of VZs that are out there, crushing it, especially in the beginning. And that's about finding the right people. And like you talked about that avatar, finding the right guys and being like, hey, do I think they can succeed in this role? And then, as a team, when they come and we meet them, we really try and vet them out through the process. And that's little things. It's an interview process. Like I don't call people back if they're late. If you're late to my call, I'm not calling you. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to beg you to get on a call with me throughout the process. So those little things too. Like I talk about, like we're small, but like how can we make this an interview, right? And be like, hey, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. And if they come into that approach and the question we have in the beginning kind of change the dynamic. And I tell this to my team. It's like, if you had an interview set up, would you ever be late? Would it be okay for you to, oh, sorry, you know what, the interview, I missed it. I'm sorry. Still hire me, right? Nobody in their right mind that is any kind of professional would ever miss an interview without a heads up. That's different. Things happen. You have a situation come up, give
Sure.
me a heads up. But if you're going to just not show up, I'd love to know some data of if a candidate misses a call, how much lower percentage of them signing
Wow.
is,
That's
right?
probably significant.
I
Yeah.
think that's a huge thing. And guys miss 2 calls. Like we have a really great conversation. Then we also talk to the consultants to make sure they're aligned. Like again, that is their candidate. But for me, missing a call is you have to have the candidate respect your time. It's not it's a big deal, right? And I think that as you transparently build a pipeline and have more people right coming and looking, you could be a little more selective on that. Where I think I had a candidate at the beginning miss like 5 calls, and I'm still calling them, like trying to engage them back in the process. So I think those things of trying to figure it out, and for me in the sales end, it's like you got to be a detective on our end, right, and protect our time and make sure we find the right people and right fits. And again, that I think the last thing a candidate can do is show up on time. And looking back on everyone that signed, I don't think any of them ever missed a call, right? And they were just on it, and that's part of it. When people start missing call, I don't know how oh, my calendar, it's not on there. We're sending you a text. There's all this stuff out there. To not give
Yeah.
us a heads
Yeah.
up, that's you not respecting my time. And then I always kind of say like nobody would miss an interview, right? That was trying to get hired. So that's some other things that we've dialed in on our end as well.
Solid. That's universal. I think when we first started Mosquito Joe, our first few years, for example, our average treatment was $69, but it was the customers that were in the 59, the 49 range that we gave those away early because we wanted desperately to get more customers. Those are the most difficult ones. And then we
Yep.
found out the customers that were paying 89, 99, 120 a treatment, I never heard from them, and they're happy and they're smooth and they're just easier to deal with because they actually fit our model, and it obviously works in any setting. Where do you guys see the most opportunity for growth in a specific area? Is it working with more consultants? Is it putting more money into lead generation platforms? Where's going to events? That's the other thing I want to talk about. The
Yeah, I mean,
events. What
yeah.
about where are you guys at?
One is, I think with anything that you do is, I feel like, Dan and I are pretty good at what we do, but how do we scale that? Right? How can I have 10 of me out there?
Sure.
In sales, in my experience, it's all about training, right? And make sure you have the right training in place to scale up an organization. So that's definitely a thing where, Dan right now is our CEO. He's wearing the hat of the CEO. He's also wearing the hat of a developer. How do we scale him out of that role, but then replace him with someone that's a rock star? That's another end. And I think also, yeah, for us, meeting more consultants out there, kind of aligning, with them. Again, meeting them and building relationships with them. And the consultants we work with, it's pretty great because you work with these guys and you're like, hey, what's your bank info? I'm about to wire you X amount of dollars. Right? It's usually a nice that helps build a
Can't go
relationship.
wrong with that.
Everyone
Yeah, no
loves
doubt.
it. So finding more consultants, being part of some networks. I think we have in our plan to get into more, work with more consultants
Good.
on our end, and then again, really crank on our organic lead generation process as well. Is definitely another entity, and that's really on the development side. But I'll be honest with you, the operations guys, them putting our franchisees to succeed, putting them first, and having them do really well, that's going to make my job a lot easier, right? And that
Sure.
feedback, I had a consultant who's really well known in the space was like, hey, once you have validation, I'm comfortable sending candidates. So for us, those guys crushing it, and for me, getting the text from your Z's of so excited to leave training, so excited to get out there. That's going to jumpstart our organization tenfold. So that's kind of where the growth is, and growing the right way, getting the right people in, and then again, I look forward to meeting more consultants, being a part of more networks, and then how can we improve our process? A lot of times I talk to consultants like, hey, what more can I do for you? And and what other things that are you expecting from me? I don't want to do the same as everybody else. How can I go do things a little bit better, and how can I communicate even better than I have, and then also, I think everybody wants to communicate differently, and knowing that, like, guys that are busy, like a call's not going to work, text and finding out how they like to communicate too. So yeah, there's always opportunities to grow, and there's always opportunities to get better at every facet of our business. But that's a couple on our end, top of mind here.
Really cool to hear. So I'm new into the consulting space, getting into it myself. When you're dealing with newer consultants like me that might not be you guys might not be in the network yet. Is
Yep.
there anything that that I can do, personally, or kind of like my avatar? Because there's other people out there like me that can add value to you guys right now as you're growing.
Yeah, man, that's a great question. Well, one, with Dan being a previous consultant and really being in lead generation, I think what we've done with a lot of consultants early on is help them out with that lead generation aspect, out of kind of building a relationship, showing value to them. Hey, these are things to know. I also, talk to them a bit about their leads coming in and what do I think about them, and if they try different tactics, kind of communicating them. I'm very informative on like what areas to target and what's moving and shaking on that end. But I think for you, as you meet these other companies, I don't want to speak upon everybody else, but I think having qualified financial candidates is great, and then also having a good teed up transition, and then checking in with them and being that neutral voice and giving me that feedback of like, hey, he likes you guys a lot, but he wants to know a little about more of this lead generation. And that's not coming from me, and then we kind of align. I think that's something that is great, and just communicating back and forth. I think the term that I've come into, frickin' frack, the better you can be on that end. Where like
Yeah.
you want it to be, where developers get your leads and they're like, oh, I just got a Matt Reynolds leads. Like, I get leads from some people and we get pumped. I mean, we get pumped for every lead that comes in, but I think if you can really build that relationship with your candidate, be that more neutral voice. Give you one example, like we had all these targets for Discovery Day. Sometimes Discovery Day, people think if I go, they're going to lock me in a room. They're going to put out the franchise agreement and say, now you can't leave, right? Where if we tell the consultant, like, hey, let them know this is a way for them to have a feel for our team, and just having that other voice is crucial in us being able to overcome the objections of these candidates. So I think that's something of the qualification standpoint, being a guiding voice for them, learning about the brand, like learning about some high level things, and just being transparent with your candidates. Like if people come in and they're looking for an established brand, like it wouldn't really make sense for them to be with us, right? So knowing about the brand, getting updates on what they do. I'm a big believer in bullet points. As a consultant, how can you learn everything about every single brand, right? It's impossible, right? But if you can know bullet points that can get the candidate interested for an introduction, I think are some key things, on your end. And then, there's, I think just, being, there's going to be situations like what's interesting is you got to think with a consultant, more times than not in this game, we're going to not sell the candidate, right? So there's going to be more no's than yes. And I think kind of working together as a team and trying to improve it instead of maybe putting blame on one end or another is something that is, something to think about too as well. And again, yeah, just having that great working relationship, with the developers and knowing a bit about the brand. And the more you know, the better off we are. And then again, I'll put this, with the financial part. I think on all developers, it's like, hey, if you got somebody that, how can you find out they have the money and have that conversation with them? I joke around with candidates. I'd love to own a Bentley, but I can't go to the Bentley dealership right now and jump in without proof of funds, right? Same thing with us, so it's kind of a similar mindset of like, hey, how do we together make sure we get, qualified financial candidates in? Because there's nothing worse than going through the process and if you went through it and you found out they don't really have the funds available to get the franchise. So I don't think you become more of a window shopper if you're not financially qualified or have the ability to get there. So that's a couple things I think for you that I know developers that I've spoke to really look for.
Yeah. And that's the point of the consultant in the first place is do a lot of that initial validation to make the process easier, to make sure you guys know that you're confident in the lead and where you're at. Okay. Before we wrap up, tell me if I need to delete this out, but when you coming, man?
Man,
When you guys,
listen,
when's it going to happen?
we want nothing more to be part of franchise. So we have I don't want to give you the exact date. We could do it off camera, but we got you guys
Okay.
teed up.
Wicka, wicka, wicka. All right, let me hop in real quick. This is the part that I was talking about earlier. Voda, Steve Miller, Dan Claps, these guys are now in the franchise portfolio. So all this stuff is dated. We did this back early in the summer. So now, we're talking in January. We just got back from our conference in New Orleans, met with these guys in person. Again, love the brand. All right, this is dated. Back to the episode. Enjoy.
All right. I wanted to hit it. Yeah, I know you
Yeah,
might
really
not. You might not give me the answer.
So I've only met Jeff Elgin once briefly. I'm sure he doesn't even know who I am, but he has a video series out there for developers that I've watched probably
Okay.
10, 15 times.
A lot of the terminology that you just used is literally like I'm studying it right now because I go to
Oh yeah, man.
training next week.
Again, you got to get better at what you're doing, and like for me, why not learn what people do and then just right, like again, right, copycat a bit and then put your own little spin on it.
No
So
doubt.
yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from that. I know it's one of the most well-known organizations, and every day we're gearing up. And honestly, we're building a team that to be able to handle a high organization like franchise and what they provide. I mean, we have some great partners already, but just to add another one to the fold and have a team ready to go. And then also, you guys are going to hit us at a perfect time. We got the end of the year here. We got validation going. We got we got the phones ringing from our franchisees. So you're going to hit Voda at the perfect time to take us to the next level, alongside with other partners that we already have right now.
Yeah.
So we're pumped. You'll be the first person I call. You'll get a
Let's
text.
go, man.
I'll give you a little
Let's
heads
go.
up, and for sure we'll definitely send them. Yeah, just looking forward. I mean, I don't know many of the people in franchise. I do owe one of the guys. What's interesting is one of the Z's that came in to us was working with the franchise consultant. So I got to meet him too as well. But and yeah, I'm excited to there. I've met Trent a bunch of times. He's a great guy, man.
Good guy. Good
He's
guy.
he's been really great, and I don't think he thinks he's helped me as much as he has, but just like some of the feedback and talk. But yeah, I'm excited to where I follow your guys' content, and there's a lot of guys in franchise that putting content out. So again, free game out here, right? I'm just picking it, putting it in my pocket.
There it is.
And saving it and again sharpening our skill set and our team and listen to people that have that track record and have the sales that they've done. So
Dude, well, you've been a great guest. I've really had fun talking to you. My last question before you hop off is just from your own personal journey. We've talked a lot about your journey with Voda and a little bit of your career before, but on the personal side, where have you in the last few years really had to grow and level up to take you to the place that you are now?
yeah, man. I mean, I think anything is like the continuing to try and always get better at your craft and learn more and kind of I have audible books and I'm not crazy amount of books, but I'm trying to pick off little things, right? In the franchise space, I try and learn what other people are doing. There's a couple some great content out there, but for myself, I think the biggest thing is just kind of continuing to try and stay disciplined, right? And I think that's something that you try and do. And there's always things you can do. Give me an example. Like I try and just do little things in myself to push myself. I did my first 24-hour fast yesterday, and I felt it was hard, but like I did it, and I was like, I never thought I could do that. And I think doing things like that, you teach yourself that like you can start to do different things and really push yourself. And again, it's having an honest conversation with yourself. Like, am I doing everything to get better? I got young kids too, right? So it's like kind of being an example of them. All my girls got cell phones, fake ones. They're on, they're messing. I'm going to have them doing territory checks before you know it.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that helps, helps me take an evolution, and I think taking myself to the next levels. You see them every day afterwards and realize, like, one, I got to provide for these little ones, but two, I want to be an example of what to do in the work, and kind of build out something that they kind of know what they know. I'm on the phone a lot. I don't think they know
Yeah.
exactly what I do, but
Yeah.
that's another thing that you kind of get inspiration from, just wanting to show your kids. I know you got your kids all on LinkedIn too as well, which I love to see. I mean, what a better
Yeah.
blessing, right? I mean, I just
Man.
it's incredible. Just the motivation you get from seeing them every day, and like my best part will be here around 6 or 7 when I get home, and I'm super dad, superhuman walking through the door, and but yeah, man, that's a couple different things. And for me, I see you on your fitness. I've always been a guy that's in great shape, so I think, like, your mind, you got to be in great physical condition to take yourself to the next level, right? I think everyone that I've met, especially when I was in California, like, that have really done big things, most part, they're very fit people, right? They're always kind of working on the fitness end of it as well. And I'll leave you one cheat code for your listeners here that really
All
helped
right.
me,
Let's
is
go.
walking. Morning walks. It sounds simple, right? I think it's a game changer. If you're getting in 10,000 steps a day, especially early on,
There it is.
you get that walk in the morning, because you can, if you're running, you can't, you're huffing and puffing, right? You can't there. I can lock in. I'm walking. I'm looking at my day. I'm there. I'm getting in those extra steps. Helps with your energy levels. Helps. I mean, honestly, losing weight too, and just like staying sharp. When I don't get that walk in the morning, I mean, it throws my whole day off, and then my dogs want to, freak out on me. So, they help keep me accountable on that end. But yeah, that was a game changer. I did. This is probably about a year and a half ago. I lost like 15, 20 pounds in the process.
There we go.
I just it helped again. Just have that thing in the morning I'm doing to reset, do some affirmations, get your steps in, and it's helped with the energy levels throughout the day, because I'm on 10 calls a day, right, or 8 to 10 calls I'm on a day. You got to be able to keep your energy levels up. And if I have candidates I'm close with and I'm ready, they're on camera with me, I'll take walks while I'm on with them, because that staying at your desk all day long.
You've got some rapport with them now. You can be a little more
Exactly.
casual
I'm
yeah.
taking a walk. If I'm doing consultant calls, I'm trying to, most of the consultants that I talk to too, they're always at the gym when I'm talking to them too. So you got to keep going. That's the only way to, to keep that energy level up. And, energy is everything, right? When you're dealing with these candidates. So if you're on and they feel that energy, it's attractive to them, right? And it's something like, okay, if you're on and you're like all mundane and all mopey, like, people don't want to be a part of that kind of energy and organization. So that helps me, engage with the clients. And again, it's a little thing you never would think. A friend of mine told me that we were doing a step challenge, and I track my steps and make sure I kind of stay at that 10,000. And yeah, that's definitely something that's helped here over the last year and a half.
Dude, I mean, I could make a whole other episode about that. I resonate so much.
What do we got here? Today is September 15th. So when we hit another big milestone, we're at 11 now. I'm gonna ring you back up, and when we get in franchise, you'll be one of the first guys that I shout
Let's
out.
go.
And I look forward to working with you. I'm excited for you, man. Like, you're a franchise. Like, you got that's an accomplishment at its own, and now just run with it. And for me, I'm all about you guys making money. If you want to pick my brain about other brands outside, I'm more than happy to talk to you, because for me, I kind of have a good feel for who's strong out there too as well on the other side. But yeah, I'm excited for you, man. When you told me that at first, I was like, that's sick. You're doing it. You got your franchises, your consultant. I mean, you kind of got both things going on. So looking forward to reconnecting with you and jumping on. I think this is number 18, maybe like number 50 or something. We'll reconnect, and maybe we'll be at 50, 60 units then. But yeah, thanks again for your time.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate you. It's exciting to see where you're going, and the Voda team. I can't wait to get some. The day comes where I get some placements in there for you guys too. But
yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. To the listener, if you enjoyed this episode, man, find my guy Steve on LinkedIn. These guys are doing great things. Give us a like, share the episode, and as always, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Hey, if this episode added any value to your life at all, please like it, share it, give me a 5-star review. It's the only way that this show is going to gain traction and help more people achieve their dreams. If you're ready to start your franchise journey, visit streetwisefranchising.com. Let's set up a time to talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.